Hi, everybody, and welcome to the January 22nd version of Trips and Traps. I'm Andy Serling, joined by Eric Donovan.
We have 6 races to show you in 2 different segments, and a little bit later on in the second segment, we're going to have a discussion about track bias, which on Monday it seemed like early on there was a speed bias, but if there was, it kind of dissipated toward the end of the day. Me and Andy will discuss that a little bit later.
Yeah, we had snow as the day went on, and I'm not really sure, neither of us were sure. I felt more strongly than Eric, but we weren't really sure how much of a bias we might have had. So we're going to cover a couple races from that, but that will be in the second segment, so you'll have to tune into that one as well. But right now, we're going to start with some races from the earlier part of the week.
Let's take a look at a couple races from Wednesday. First, we're going to take a look at the 8th race on Wednesday, a starter allowance for 3-year-old fillies. We're looking at the 1 horse in here, Spina. We're also going to take a look at the 5 Kiss and Fly, and just to get a position on how race dynamics really play out and really affect the finish sometimes. We're going to see how this unfolds. Now, there's going to be a good pace battle here, and the 5 horse Kiss and Fly on the 1 Spina are kind of off the pace here a little bit.
Yeah, and Kiss and Fly has that tactical speed, which doesn't necessarily work into her advantage the way the race played out, but it ends up working the advantage because of the patience of Ramon Dominguez. And the 1 Spina was being ridden by CC Lopez, and ultimately I think it turns out that Spina made a premature move.
Yeah, absolutely. Right here, you're going to see that Kiss and Fly, Ramon Dominguez does a great job to take her a little bit off the pace here, because the pace was certainly contentious up front, and you're going to see Chucky Lopez on the back on the 1 horse Spina try to get her involved a little bit more, try to be up there in a contending position. Now, Kiss and Fly didn't have to do any running to get to her contending position, but Spina certainly does, and Spina's coming with a wide move here.
Yeah, and Spina makes that premature wide move, and it really ends up being what victimized her. And you'll even see at the end of the race when Kiss and Fly goes by her, and here they are together. But Ramon Dominguez is basically sort of rating comfortably and waiting, and Spina is pretty much in a drive.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're going to see the key right here. The key to the race was Spina makes this big move beforehand, this prolonged move around the turn. Meanwhile, Kiss and Fly is patiently handled by Dominguez. Spina goes and clears off. Kiss and Fly gets a path on the outside, and Kiss and Fly is going to run down Spina in the final stages here. Now, Spina definitely ran a better race than Kiss and Fly, I thought here, but you also have to, make a little bit of a case for some of the pace setters in here, because the pace was so destructive.
Yeah, there's no question about it. If Spina and Kiss and Fly met again in a fairly run race, I believe Spina would beat her easily 4 out of 5 times. On the other hand, I'm looking to move the speed horses up out of this race, the horses that were involved in the pace, horses like Faithful One and even She's My Fortune. If they get, the next time they run, they're in a situation, either of those horses, where there isn't that much pace, I would take my chances even against either Kiss and Fly or Spina, because the dynamics would suit them, and this time it was against them. Even Warm Country, the 3rd finisher in this race, broke a little slowly, not that good a horse, and clunked up for 3rd because the pace just completely collapsed.
The horse is running 4th, 6th, and 7th early on, finished 1, 2, 3 in the race, so that gives you some idea of how destructive that pace was. We're going to take a look now at the 9th race from Wednesday, and we're going to take a look at the 2B Cielo Song, who really had not much of a chance here the way the race unfolded to beat Cambu Man, who is very sharp in for that $7,500 tag once again.
Cambu Man, he's prepping for the Breeders' Cup, and we're going to show you Cielo Song, but also look at Americanus, who's the back of the pack, who I felt was a little slow and stayed out at the start. But Cielo Song is the horse we're going to show you right now.
Cielo Song is highlighted. Americanus right to the outside of Cielo Song there, and Cambu Man's just going to get away on the lead. He's in front right now. He's going to get a little bit of I don't know if it's pressure is the right word, but a little bit of I guess encouragement from some of the other horses to keep his position and go on with it. But as sharp as Cambu Man is here, what we're going to see from Cielo Song soon when he comes up on the far turn, he's going to steady. And how sharp Cambu Man is, Cielo Song really had no chance to win in this race, and he actually ran quite well. I thought he's going to steady coming up pretty shortly here under CC Lopez, and we're going to pause it just to show you where he is, and the steady will come up right now.
Yeah, you'll see him steady. You'll see him almost go straight back behind, and he gets into some trouble, and you can't really tell what it is, but he's clearly steadying pretty severely here. Now, don't forget that Americanus is the one who's rallying 4 wide sort of in front of him, and eventually Cielo Song is going to go around him. See, Eric and I have a difference of opinion in this race. I agree that Cielo Song had some trouble and did run well to finish 2nd in this race, but in some ways I wonder if he didn't just pick up the pieces because so many others tired from trying to chase the super sharp Cambu Man.
That could be too. I mean, I think there's a couple different ways of looking at it, and when Cielo Song runs back, you're going to have to judge that, and especially how the pace is going to develop in that race too. If you're going to get a fast pace with contentious horses in there, not a horse that stands out like Cambu Man, Cielo Song is a good shot. If there's a race with no pace in there and Cielo Song's over bet because he ran 2nd to Cambu Man and had a little bit of trouble, then I'd be very leery of him.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want him going forward. I thought Americanus actually was the horse that I would want out of this race, to be honest.
I don't think I want Americanus.
Eric disagrees with me. The problem with Americanus is he's just not exactly in great form and stuff, but I thought for him, him, he broke slowly, and he kind of made a middle move to get in contention wide. And at least I thought he did a little more running. It's a slight difference of opinion, but also a race dynamic situation.
And then we'll take a look at a maiden special weight from the 15th. That was on Thursday afternoon. A couple of first-time starters in here. We're going to take a look at the 3 Sir John and the 4 Justifier. They're all involved in some bumping at the start here with the number 1 horse, and the number 1 horse was Watch the Gap. But you can see them all toward the back of the pack there, that they all are trailing early on here, and we're going to highlight them. The 3 is Sir John, the 4 is Justifier, and the 1 is Watch the Gap. But the 3 and the 4 I thought were the ones that did more running than Watch the Gap.
Yeah, I thought Justifier was the one that actually you really want to look for down the road, and I won't be surprised to see the Darley-owned Justifier running at a distance in his next start, because I thought he was very green. But there's no question they all had trouble to start, and we're going to show the head-on a little later. Now, Sir John has moved up into a reasonable position on the inside here, and he has a little bit of trouble in the race, but I thought of all of them, he had the best trip after the start.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, but we also have to keep in mind, and now here comes the 4-horse Justifier to the outside right there. We're going to pause it just to show you where they are. The 3 is Sir John, the 4 behind the pole there is Justifier. Keep in mind the winner of this race, Wildcat Brief, was a second-time starter that was heavily bet here, 2-5. Really looked best on paper, looked very tough to beat here. So these horses running against a horse in the lead like Wildcat Brief have a tough assignment for him.
Yeah, and Justifier was steadied in the turn, and we'll show that head-on a little bit later, but he tried to make a 4-wide move, and just maybe he was green, but he didn't really get himself into a big jackpot. He seemed to steady back there, and they ran him very hard in this race, but he just felt to me like a horse, Justifier, that just was immature and has some ability, but really, really needed this race. And as you said, nobody was beating Wildcat Brief in this race. And in fact, the second-place finisher, a horse shipping down from Canada for Anthony Dutrow, did a good job to finish second. But going further down the road, I very much think Justifier, the 4, is the one you're going to want.
Now here's the start. We're going to see the 2-horse come out. The 2 is open outcry. Come out into the 1, 3, and 4. The 3 horses we were looking at clearly affecting their starting positions in the race. And for first-time starters, a break like that could be very costly.
Yeah, no question about it. And all of them were affected. I think Justifier was coming in a little bit, and Watch the Gap was affected by it, and Sir John was affected by it. And Sir John's a horse that might have a little bit of speed, too. Now, I'm not sure. And Justifier just then, the horse outside of him kind of bumped into him. He ducked towards the rail. And now you're going to see Mike Leslie trying to angle him out for running room towards the outside. And he's angling about 4 wide here. But with that horse on his flank, I think he was intimidated there. And he's not able to go through that hole. And he ends up ducking back towards the inside. As you'll sort of see right here, it's hard to tell. We kind of lose the camera angles, but he goes back towards the inside. To me, Justifier had the most herky-jerky trip in here. A horse not really ready to make his, make a real run in a race. But down the road, and I even think in his next start, we might be able to get the money with Justifier.
And you like him going long in his next start, right?
I just think he looks like the kind of horse, the way he's bred and Darley, they're going to probably stretch him out in his second start, and we'll see him in a 2-turn race maybe in about 2 weeks.
Certainly looks like it could be a key race. Wildcat Brief obviously has some talent, and perhaps these horses that we've just looked at will have some talent as well.
Yeah, this was a very above-average group, I think, for this time of the year in this sort of maiden race. There's some horses in here that will probably do all right down the road.
All right, that does it for our first segment. Keep in mind, we're coming back with another segment here where we'll talk a little bit about track bias on a Monday. You can send us your emails, trips and traps at NYRAinc.com. We love hearing your feedback and your thoughts on some potential trips and trap horses.
Yeah, and if you see some races from this week, the earlier you send one of us an email, or you send them, we both get them actually, it'll give us a chance to maybe incorporate it in the show, because if we come in on Wednesday morning and we get some emails from people telling us, will you cover this race, the problem is it's too late. We already figured out what we're showing. But send them in. We love to hear from you, and we'll at least respond if we can't use the races.
All right, come on back for our second segment.